partner. I'm Cowboy Bookface, and y'all are in for something real.
Well, he's getting bolder. Hello, I am Bookface, and I am retreading some old ground. Today's topic comes from Lumberjack Folklore, and is actually something I've covered in a previous video. When I originally talked about the Gaius Scutus, it was back when I tried to cram 3 different topics into a single video, which, while that could definitely work for most of Lumberjack Folklore, this guy, the Scutus, deserves a bit more focus, and a touch more quality. To keep things positive, I'll simply say that I've improved in my research, video making, and drawing quite a bit. With that out of the way, let's jump right in. Woo! The Gaius Scutus is an ill-defined creature with the scientific name of Gaius Scutus honianus, or possibly Gaius Scutus automobilica. It's honestly hard to tell what's the actual information. This thing is so weird, they can't even figure out their own made-up terminology. But I'm not here to make sense of it, I'm just here to tell y'all about it. Gotta be careful saying y'all, don't want to bring the cowboy back. Some suggest the name of this creature comes from the Chinook word hyascotus, which means worthless. And I'm very curious if that was done ironically, or if whoever named it was completely oblivious, because honestly, either option is funnier than anything I could come up with, as are many things. Consistently, these creatures are described as having legs shorter on one side than the other, exactly like the side-hill gouger, though in a slightly different take, it was also believed these limbs could adjust telescopically to different mountain slopes. They're also consistently described as having prehensile tails to grab onto rocks while climbing, in case those stretchy legs just don't stretch good enough. When your legs don't stretch like they used to before. Hey Ed Sheeran, yeah, you're in this video now. Deal with it. Interestingly, or unfortunately, from the perspective of my workload, these are the only consistent details. Generally, there seem to be 3 different descriptions of the Gaius Scutus that I foolishly tried to combine into one singular creature originally, creating something that didn't look like any of them. Yeah, I was never too happy with this one. Lesson of the day, friends, don't rush your work. Our first version is described as a 10-foot alligator, and I'm not sure if that implies that this is an individual animal that reaches 10 feet, or if that's just the general size range of a species of creatures. And then I realized, wow, why am I thinking critically about this? Because that's my whole gimmick. So yes, I will definitely find answers. It's definitely a promise I can make. Anyways, on this creature's back are hardened overlapping plates like an armadillo, and a dorsal ridge of horns, which, for the less science nerdy people in the audience, means spikes along the spine. I'm very happy with how this guy turned out, but maybe it's because of the colors, but for some reason I can't help but see Crocodile Loki, which is from a show I haven't even watched before, so strong imagery, I guess. The power of memes and cultural osmosis, and me making outdated references. Our second version is a surprise appearance of the knot deer, which I really want to make a video about someday, but that's a whole nother project. See, it's described as resembling a white-tailed deer, but with rabbit ears. Now, that would be fun, and honestly a real cute creature, if it weren't for the fact that it also is described as having brutal jaws with sharp teeth like a mountain lion. Well, you ruined it. Or improved it. Also, to keep things consistent, I gave it a sort of possum tail for grabbing onto rocks. And I made it blue because, look, I was going for a sort of primary colors things throughout the designs, with the first one having yellow, this one having blue, and the next one having red, though honestly all of them kind of lean a little heavier on the secondary colors of green, purple, and orange. Graphic design is my passion. Our final version is one that I actually hadn't read about when I initially did my video. It's what happens when you end up buying obscure books like The Tale of Paul Bunyan and Tony Beaver. Yeah, that's a book I own. And this version is supposed to be something akin to a dragon. It's described as being 40 feet long and resembles a monstrous lizard with a neck like a giraffe. Since the description didn't specifically mention what kind of lizard this creature is supposed to resemble, I just chose the Gila monsters since they fit the area, and also I've always thought Gila monsters were super cool. Additionally, this creature has a writhing tail covered in dagger-like horns and nostrils that billow with red smoke. And I appreciate how that kind of implies fire breathing, but my research only ever says that their smoke could just be high as balls, just like its witnesses.
Bookface makes no accusation of drug usage directed at any supposed witnesses, and this statement is purely for comedic effect, as is this disclaimer. Like and subscribe.
It was described as having teeth like a cross-cut saw, which I thought was just going to be boring spiky teeth, but they specifically look like this, which does make for some really gnarly teeth. Would not want to brush those. And these teeth are supposedly capable of grinding boulders to dust. And, rather unsurprisingly due to the freakiness of this creature, just looking at this thing can scare people to death.
Maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Those are the specific forms, so let's get back to the vagueness that really sells this creature, with some random details that I honestly just could not figure out how to write into my script in a cohesive way. For example, these things apparently eat lichens, which were apparently known about much longer than I thought. I didn't think knowledge of lichens was around in lumberjack times. I have no concept of time. Also, they would swallow rocks to help digest them. Not sure how that fits with the whole grinding boulders to dust thing, if they can't digest lichens. Some say they're never seen unless it's after a snake bite, which both sounds very ominous and comical. Picture it. You're in the wilderness. A snake strikes. You're wondering if it's venomous or not. You look up this thing, and then you die, I guess. Or you write a book called The Tale of Paul Bunyan and Tony Beaver. When they initially move, they go really slow, but after warming up their muscles for a bit, they move like lightning. And even though I'm still in my 20s, I still feel like I'm reaching that age where I can relate to that, except I really don't move like lightning, ever. This bit got sad. Also, apparently in Oregon, people say these things come from Maine, but in Philadelphia, people say these things come from Boston. And I don't know why there's this cross-state lines finger-pointing about these weird things, but let's calm down now. Shockingly, despite the vagueness of this creature, there are specific accounts, such as one from 1844, where one was reported to be stuck in a poplar tree. Would not want to be the firefighter called to deal with that. Also, very curious which form got stuck in a tree, because all of them seem very unlikely. Several were also reported in Vermont farmland, and they're sometimes described as predatory, even being referred to as man-eaters, though in 1855 they were reporting eating hyacinth roots. No joke, I tried to remember what hyacinths were, and my brain just goes, oh, they're the gay Greek flowers. Some farmers were known to breed their sheep with Gaiuscutus to give these sheep telescoping legs, and since I don't even want to try and touch on the morality of putting these two in the same area and hoping for a miracle of life instead of a tragedy of death, I'll instead point out that if this is genetically possible, it would mean these things are somehow biologically similar enough to sheep that they could crossbreed. So add that to the weird list of animal features and traits these things have. Man, Lumberjack Folklore really is secretly all about platypi. I'm honestly shocked that joke is still relevant after all the videos I've done, but it is somehow. One farmer claimed to have domesticated a Gaiuscutus, and it followed him around like a pet. Which, guys, if that's not exactly what I would do. Take that dog! According to him, it disliked walking on flat road with its uneven legs. Oh, poor baby. You dig that thing a trench it can walk on right now. Is that why there are gutters on the side of the road? I'm going to pretend that's it. There is also a repeated story of a traveling sideshow advertising the Gaiuscutus, which, knowing about sideshows, I'm sure everything here is totally on the up and up, and nothing weird is going on at all. The story goes they would roll into town, sell out with tickets, since the only other interesting thing to do was, the horseshoe tipping, cow throwing, something like that. But this show quickly went south. Well, further south, as panic ensued because
Asset has breached containment.
which of course actually translates to one of the guys in the sideshow screaming in horror that the beast got loose, and potentially another guy making monster noises and rattling chains like a proper Scooby-Doo villain. So yeah, unlike the other Lumberjack Folklore creatures, this one is straight up said multiple times to be a real-life scam that people use to steal money. And if that doesn't just warm your heart. And there we have a really weird alligator, lizard, deer thing.
A banjo-playing platypus?
If you like my content and want to help me make more, I've got a Patreon. For just $1 a month, you get access to voting and behind-the-scenes extra stuff like this. Weirdness. You can sign up for free just to see what I'm up to, if you want. If you feel like it, I'll occasionally put out free stuff. And for $5 a month, you get access to little bits and pieces of all my drawings, which allowed me to create this thing. Ta-da! An improved version of the all forms fused together Gaiuscutus. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about my website in a while. I still have that. I have a website. It's got all my research in a more logical and less goofy format, plus all my drawings. Check it out if you want. Man, my outros just get more and more awkward with every video. See you next time. Bye.